Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with 3.2 properties of parallel lines. So for properties of parallel lines, it is related a lot to 3.1. So let's talk about what was 3.1. You have two lines that are, you have two lines here. We'll label them L and M. And you have a third line crossing those two lines. This line in blue is called the transversal line. So the transversal line, we're going to label it as line T. Okay, so there are angles being formed, and so I'll go ahead and label those. Doesn't matter what numbers you use, doesn't matter, you can use letters as long as you label them, and we can start talking about those angles that are being formed. Okay, the only difference here on 3.2 is that we're going to make the lines parallel. So notice how we're talking about properties of parallel lines. So we're going to make these lines parallel. Now, there are symbols used. We can use a single arrow like this that you're seeing me draw on the lines, or they can use two little arrows. But if you see little arrows between the lines, they're telling you that the lines are parallel. All right, so let's talk about the different angles that we're going to be bringing up and what happens to them. Okay, so let me go ahead and pause the video and then write some of the things down. All right, so in your notes, you have all this information. So don't worry about what you need to copy right now. What I need from you is to pay attention so you understand what's occurring. So when the lines are parallel, and we know that because we have two little arrows, when you see those little arrows that telling you they're parallel, we're going to look at what happens to the alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles corresponding, and same side interior. So let's start with alternate interior. Alternate interior, and if you forgot what are the interior angles, the interior angles is everything that is inside. So anything in here is called alternate interior. So alternate interiors are going to be angles 4 and 5, and is going to be also 3 and 6. Now, when those lines are parallel, what occurs is that angles 4 and 5 are equal, and what occurs is that 3 and 6 are equal. So therefore, we're going to write down that they're equal. So we're going to say angles 4 is going to equal to angle 5. Okay? Now, in the notes, it used the little squiggly line on top. It means that they're congruent, they're equal. It means the same thing. All right, it also means that angles 3 and 6 are equal. So angle 3 is going to equal to angle 6. So we're going to go ahead and write down that all alternate interior angles are equal. Now, alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are going to be the ones on the outside. So we're talking about the ones up here, angles 1 and 2, 8 and 7. Those are alternate, and these are the exterior angles. Alternate is we're going to cross them from the transversal line. So here's our transversal line right here. We got to cross those angles. So alternate exteriors are going to be the 1 and the 7, and they're going to be also angles 2 and 8. Angles 1 and 7 are going to be equal to each other. So we're going to go ahead and say that angles 1 and 7 are going to equal each other. We're going to also say that angles 2 and 8, those are going to equal each other. So therefore, alternate interior angles are going to equal. All right, so that's what we know about that when the lines are parallel. Same side interior. These angles are on the inside, and they're on the same side of the transversal, which would be 6 and 4. These are same side interior. Same thing with angles 3 and 5. They're on the same side, and therefore these are the same side interior. Well, what happens is these two angles, 4 and 6, they're going to add up to 180 degrees. So we're going to go ahead and say that angle 4 plus angle 6 are going to equal 180 degrees, or 180. You can put the degrees if you want. Okay, angles 3 and 5, those also are going to add up to 180. So we're going to say angle 3 plus angle 5 equal to 180 degrees. So therefore, same side interiors are going to be supplementary. Okay, now the last one are corresponding angles. Let me go ahead and clear the board so I can show you the corresponding angles. Okay, for corresponding angles, I made a little drawing here. Imagine you get some scissors and you cut right in between lines L and M. Remember, the lines are parallel. What happens to these angles? So if I take line L and I put it right on top of line M, notice that angles are going to land on top of each other. One is going to land on angle 6. And because the lines are parallel, angles 1 and 6 are equal. Notice how they look, they're going to be the equal value in degrees. So 1 and 6 are equal. So we're going to say that angle 1 is going to equal to angle 6, as long as the lines are parallel. Now, angle 2 will land on angle 5, and therefore those two will be the same because they will have the same value in degrees. So those are going to be equal. So will angles 3 and 7. They land on top of each other, and they're going to be equal. So we're going to say angles 3 is going to equal to angle 7. And finally, angle 4 would land on angle 8. So those are going to be equal. So we'll say angles 4 are going to be equal to angle 8. So these are the properties you're going to use because of the parallel lines. So let's recap. Alternate interior angles are going to be equal. Alternate exterior angles are going to be equal. I didn't write this one down, but corresponding angles are also going to be equal. And finally, same side interiors, well, those are going to be supplementary, which means they're going to add up to 180 degrees. So these are the 4 rules you need to remember when the lines are parallel. Okay, as a side note, before we start problem number 1, there's other angles that you need to use prior knowledge that we have. Those are vertical angles and linear pair. Well, vertical angles are angles that cross each other. So we could say that this angle right here and this angle right here, well, those are vertical angles. And what do we know about vertical angles? They equal. So those in yellow that cross each other are equal. Same thing here. These two in green, those are going to be equal. Okay? Well, same thing here. These angles cross each other, therefore they're equal. And these angles right here cross each other, those also are going to be equal. So those are vertical angles. That's when they cross each other, then those angles that I just highlighted, those are going to be equal to each other. Now, linear pair. A linear pair is 2 angles that are going to add up to 180. So if I were to highlight these, let me use, say here, this angle in yellow and this angle right here in green that I highlighted, those 2 angles are a linear pair. That means that those angles, when you add them, they're going to equal to 180 degrees. Okay? And it's true as long as it's a straight line. So I can use this angle and I can use this angle. I can use the ones in the bottom too. I can use this angle here and this angle right down here in the bottom. Those 2 add up to 180. Okay, so for problem 1, they say identify supplementary angles. The measure of angle 3 is 55. Which angles are supplementary to angle 3? And how do you know? How about we do this? There's an easier way to do this, okay? Because it's very logical once you understand which lines are parallel and which is your transversal. If you know one angle, you can find all the angles. So, first thing, which lines are parallel and which is my transversal? So let's go back to what are parallel. We know that these two angles, these two lines right here are parallel. So therefore, we understand that this line, that's our transversal line. So we're just going to go ahead and label it as T for transversal. All right, so we know that angle 3 is 55 degrees. So we're going to write down that angle 3, this angle, is 55 degrees. Now, which other angles are 55 degrees? Well, we just talked about it. Angle 1 and angle 3 are vertical angles. That means they're equal to each other. So this one has to be 55. Since they cross each other, they're equal to each other. Those are vertical angles. Well, angle 3 and 5, those are alternate interiors. Here's my interior angles, 2, 3, 5, 8. 3 and 5 are alternating, and therefore they're equal. So this is going to be congruent, and it's going to be 55 degrees. 3 and 5 have to be equal. Okay? 5 and 7 are vertical angles. Therefore, these have to add up to 55 degrees. So here are 4 angles. We already know they're 55 degrees. Now, let's find all the ones that are supplementary to angle 3. So let's start with angles 3 and 8. 3 and 8, okay? 3 and 8 add up to 180. Okay, because they're same side interior. Same side interiors, if you forgot, and this is the one that students mostly forget, are going to equal to 180 degrees. So angles 3 and 8 have to equal to 180. So we subtract 55 from 180 and we find angle 8. Well, that means that if angle 3 is already 55, we can solve for the angle. So therefore that angle 3, I'll do the math for you. Angle 3 is going to equal to 125 degrees. So that means angle 3 is 125, so we're going to go write down this angle 8 is 125. Well, angle 6 has to equal angle 8, vertical angles, 125. Angle 8 and 2 are alternate interiors. They're equal to each other. Therefore, this is 125. And 2 and 4 are vertical. Therefore, these are 125. So notice there's only a few set of numbers you need to know. With one angle, which is the 55, you knew angle 1 was 55, you knew angle 5 was 55, 7 was 55. With the other angle, all you need to do is subtract 180 from them, and you find the other angles. You know 8, 6, 2, and 4 are going to be 125. Whenever you have parallel lines, you only get 2 answers. Okay? The one they give you, and then the other one that is a difference of 155. So you'll only get 2 numbers, and you can find all the angles. All right, let's move on to problem number 2. For problem 2, identify measures of angles. What are the measures of 3 and 4? So they want us to find these angles. I say let's find all the angles. So first thing is, what are the lines that are parallel? So L and M are parallel, and then notice, because they have the little arrows, and then notice they have 2 arrows here, which means these lines are also, P and Q, are parallel. So we can go ahead and state that line L is parallel to M, and also we can say that lines P are parallel to line Q. So those we know are parallel. So let's find out what angles are equal based on what they give us. So here's 105. Which other angle is 105? Well, we know angle 7 is 105 because they cross each other. These are vertical angles. Angles 3 and this one here, these are, angle 3 here is going to be alternate interior. These are equal to each other. That's going to be 105 degrees. Okay? Which other one's 105? Well, angle 5. Angle 5 is 105 degrees. Okay? Because they cross each other. So Here's me dealing with this here. So all I've done is I've kind of ignored everything here. And here is what I get. I get 7, 3, and 5. They're all 105 degrees. I can find even the missing parts right here. If this is 105, what is going to be this angle right here? Well, subtract it from 180. These two angles must add up to 180 degrees. So 180 minus 105 is 75. So we're going to replace that angle with 75 degrees. And if this is 75, this one is 75 degrees. Since this is 75, this angle, these two angles are also going to be 75 because they are alternate interiors. And then this one is going to be 75 degrees because they're vertical angles. They're crossing each other. Just going to scratch out this bottom one right, the top one right here. So I'm not caring for these right here. Okay, don't do that. Just I want you to visualize it. Okay, so that means that we can now solve angles 4 and 6. 105 and angle 6 are alternate interior. Alternate interior equal each other. 75 and 4 equal each other. You can also use that. So that means that this angle right here, angle 4, is the same as this angle right here, 75 degrees. This is 105, and 105 is going to equal to angle 6 because they're alternate interior, so this equals 105. Now let's look at the ones on the top. Okay, for the top angles, angles 1, 2, and 8, we can ignore the ones in the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase all these here in the bottom, so we're not looking at these right now. Here are my parallel lines, and here's my transversal. So that means that P is going to be my transversal. We know that if this is 105, 8 has to be 105 because these are alternate interior. So we're going to go ahead and write that down. And we know that 8 and 2 have to equal to 180. They're in a straight line. They're a linear pair. Or you could say that 5 and 2, these two angles, have to equal 180 because they're same side interior. Either way, you're going to end up with the difference of 105 and 180 is 75, so angle 2 is going to be 75. And angle 1 cross each other, therefore this is 75 degrees. And we can also fill in the rest of the missing parts. If this is 105, then this one's 105. If this is 105, this is 75. Therefore, this is also 75. So now let's show the whole picture with all the angles, and then we'll answer the question. Alright, so here's a picture with all the angles. Notice again, if you have one angle, you can solve any other angle. Alright, for problem 3, we have our two lines that are parallel. That would be this right here. We can ignore this line, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that. We know that this angle is 80, so therefore this one's 80 also. But we also know that if we combine y and 40 and the 80, all of this is same side interior. So this angle right here, I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to draw it as red. This big angle right here plus this angle right here, the 80, they're going to equal to 180. So we're going to say that 80 degrees, this angle, plus these two, y plus 40, are going to equal to 180 degrees. So we can combine terms. 80 plus 40 is 120, plus y is equal to 180. So that means that if we subtract 120 on both sides, we end up with y equal to 60 degrees. Alright, that's the last of the problems. If you have any questions, bring them up the next day. And that's it. Till then, bye.